Hello YouTube, it's Lion here with Hobbies of a Man once again, and today we are going to do another light novel review. Now today's light novel review is going to be Is It Wrong to Pick Up Girls in a Dungeon Volume 2. This is also known as Danmachi. It is written by Fujino Omori. It's illustrated by Susihito Yasuda, as you guys can see right there. This is published by Yenon, which is Yen Press's light novel or book imprint. It does have an anime adaptation. This is still covered in the first season. I do have a review for the first volume. I'll leave it up in the card. So if you guys haven't watched that yet, please go watch that first and then come back and do this one. Before we start, thank you guys very much for helping me reach 75 subscribers, which was my goal for this month. And we're already at 80, so I was hoping that we could get to 100 this month and kind of hit like our first proper milestone, if that's like a thing. I'm just really excited and I want to, keep it going. So if you guys are new, please like and subscribe and comment down below. I would really appreciate it. So the premise here is that after experiencing immense growth in the previous volume, Bell basically needs new gear because it's not keeping up with him, kind of. He needs to get better protection and more, just better gear in general in order to go deep into deeper levels of the dungeon. And then, so he kind of does that. He gets some exposition from Enya about the way adventurers and craftsmen kind of interact. And then he kind of develops this new adventuring strategy, which requires him to have a supporter so that he can spend more time battling monsters. So his the amount of money he gets is higher. And so that he can move more freely because he doesn't have to carry his own bags. And yeah, so he meets a supporter and then goes into a dungeon with her. And then there's a lot of secondary plot lines and plot threads that kind of develop with the supporter. And, it just ends up being Belle saving a girl from a situation, which is what I assume this series is going to be kind of every volume, because that's kind of been the theme so far. And it'll kind of fit the title as well. But, I mean, it's pretty good. I really enjoyed it. I really had a fun time with this. So yeah, now, okay, so I look at 5 things in my reviews. I look at plot lines, characters, world building, art, and fan service. The first 3, plot, character, and world building, are for the objective take on the book. The art is mostly just my opinion. I'm kind of show you some pieces of art, which I should probably stop doing because I think you can get flagged for it, but it's fine for now. And then we are going to talk about fan service. And this is kind of a word of warning for people that are not interested in it. So let's just jump into it. So the plotline here is actually pretty good. I kind of covered most of it in the plot and the premise. But it's basically a lot of new developments. We get some closing of plot threads from before. We kind of figure out how things progressed after the end of the last volume, which kind of left us in a kind of interesting position, I guess. And then we kind of open up a lot of new threads to kind of go. There's this new female character that kind of seems to be a possible love interest. Belle goes on 2 dates, essentially. I wouldn't call them dates because that's not the intention that he has. But that's how they're perceived both by him and by the women involved, which kind of helps us get a lot of character development on, which is really great. And then we have some development of Belle's character. He receives some new powers. He develops some strength. And then we get the really interesting mystery that is, Lily and her familia and stuff. And so we get a little bit of politics between the familias, which are guilds, essentially. And overall, it was just really great. I really enjoyed how it all kind of worked out. There were some good fight scenes. We do get that classy Omori, like, staccato rhythm to battles, which is, I think, very, very good. And yeah. So moving on to characters now. I really love Belle's development. I really like how he's growing. He's kind of shedding really slowly that childish ambition that he had of going to the dungeon to meet girls and be strong so that girls will find him attractive, which he didn't really have that much, but you can really tell at the beginning of the first volume that that's kind of what he's hoping for. And I mean, it's not going to exactly happen, but it's going to at least a little bit because that's how light novels work. And so I'm really liking his growth. He still is immensely naive and like good-hearted, like a little bit too much in my opinion. But I'm also like a dirty cynic, so take it with a grain of salt, I guess. But yeah, he's really nice. He's really well-meaning, and it's like really noble of him. But it's not necessarily noble because he like wants to be noble. Like in a lot of Western fantasy, the noble characters are noble because they feel that part of their station requires them to be good people. But Belle is just a genuinely good person and like really nice to everyone, and so it's like a little different, and it's really enjoyable to read because it's there's no like necessarily selfish motive behind it. And then you know, we have Hestia and Enya, and they kind of get a little bit of development too. We get to learn more about Hestia and how she interacts with other goddesses, and then we get to learn a lot about Enya and her like personal things. Apparently, because she's a half-elf, she didn't live in the elf region, and so she kind of grew up like kind of like first generation children, or like second generation immigrants would in other countries, and like kind of disconnected from their own culture but still connected enough, and they're not really from here or there, which is something I could really identify with. So that was really cool. And yeah, Hestia and Enya are just so nice and caring, and like really want the best for Belle. And Belle kind of doesn't realize it exactly, but it's really like meaningful to see from the reader's perspective, and I really enjoy the characters as well. Eyes is a little bit weird. Like, she is a very strong, independent kind of woman, but she's immensely stunted emotionally, and I don't know where that comes from. I really want to know more about her backstory, but we don't really get any because that mystery kind of helps us stay within the feelings that Belle has. If Eyes' character was explained way more than Belle is able to know, I feel like we would get a really different type of reading experience than what we get right now. And it kind of would like, not necessarily sour, but like change the way we view things, which maybe might be better, but I don't really think so at the moment. So yeah, that's basically it for her. Lily is really interesting. She's kind of like a halfling character. Like a hobbit, maybe a gnome. I don't know what she would classify as in like general Western fantasy. But in the book, she's called a prum, who are, you know, half-sized, but they're not dwarves. Her backstory is like really sad, and it like kind of hits you and like tugs at your heartstrings. But because she kind of seems to be a bad person, you kind of don't want to feel bad for her. And I think it's really great how she develops as a character, and there's a lot of mystery to her during the novel. And I don't know if I can really explain much more than that because I don't want to spoil it, but she is an interesting character overall, and I really like the way her story develops throughout the book. And then we get a new god who's Soma, who's a really horrible person, because he's one of those people that are immensely hyper focused on one thing, and it's kind of like those scientist characters that are so stuck in developing their science and their craft that they forget about those around them. And I don't really know where this god comes from, like what mythology, because he's essentially Dionysus or Bacchus if you're talking Roman, who is like the god of wine, the son of Zeus. Soma isn't really like that, because Dionysus and Bacchus were very much like gods of the party, gods of wine, and like were really excitable. So I don't really know if he's based on them, or if Soma is a god from a different type of religion or mythology. If you guys know, please let me know in the comments. And then we get a better look at Loki. She's actually a really good person, but kind of deep down, overall, she just kind of wants to do her own thing and, you know, have fun and just enjoy life. And then the other character we have is Freya, and then Hestia, obviously. Those are the other two goddesses that are like important. Freya is just like such an evil mastermind, but she's like really interesting, and I really like her character. And then who else is there? They mention Uranus in relation to the guild, so I don't know if Uranus is the god of the guild and the guild is like his familia, which would be interesting, but I'm not really sure. So there's a little bit of world building stuff that was kind of mentioned with the gods, and yeah, there's really no one else that's important. And now world building. Now world building here is really good. I really enjoy just the way that this is is written and the way that it is kind of unfolds. I'm not sure that Omori really wrote this deeply. I think that he purposefully made it like a video game in order to simplify and allow a lot of readers to, you know, like put their own feeling and their own experiences into the world and allow it to have interesting world building without having to take the time to do it like Tolkien did. And I still really enjoy it. I think it's deep enough that it's really interesting, and I really like the gods and their differences and how they interact with each other. And but in general, the world building here is mostly just an expansion of the world building that was started in the last book. We do get a lot of more explanation about the races. Like, we know there's a bunch of different type of animal people, and we know that there's Prom, which are the halflings. We know elves and that they have hierarchy, but a lot of that is just kind of like D&D. So maybe people that are into D&D might have more appreciation and much more knowledge about this than, you know, regular readers like me. And yeah, I really enjoyed all of it overall. And yeah, now let's talk about the art. So the art is very, very good. I really enjoy it. I like this pull-out poster that we have. There we go. Okay. I really like these, and I wish that these could be torn out without damaging the book, so I could hang them on my wall, but whatever. As you can see, there's a lot of that like really long torso. Let me see if I can find my favorite image of this book. Here we go. I'm not gonna explain any of it, but here is the image. It's really good. I really enjoy how it looks, and just the intensity of Belle's face. If you guys can see it, it's really nice. And yeah, that's it. I'm not gonna show you more, but really good. I really enjoyed it. I really enjoy the character designs and the way that they kind of changed a little bit. Like Belle, obviously, he has a little different of a character design now because he has armor. And yeah, and the fan service, there wasn't really much in this book. There was a little bit. The images at the beginning, the color pages, are more likely to have fan service than the actual book. There are some aspects of it, and I guess you could say that a lot of Belle's thoughts that are male-oriented are kind of fan servicey, but I'm not really sure that that counts. And I mean, it's not really like bad or like over the top. This is still 13 and up, so it's fine. I don't think it's all that bad. This is still kind of fair game. If you're someone that doesn't like fan service, you can still get into this pretty well. And yeah, so my rating here is actually a 5 out of 5 or a 10 out of 10. I feel like I like this better than the previous book, and I gave the previous book a 5. So anyways, it's just a 5 out of 5. It's a really good book. Really enjoyed it. So do I recommend it? Yes, I definitely recommend it if you're a fan of fantasy and you want a different take. In this case, an Eastern take. I think it's really good. And I'm not really sure what titles you could say are similar. I think last time I mentioned Infinite Dendrogram and Shield Hero, which I have reviews for both if you guys want to look at them. But I think they're not really that similar. Like, I can't think of anything that I can say, oh yeah, this is like Danmachi. I can't think of anything. So yeah, that's basically it. And yeah, so thank you guys very much for watching. Please like and subscribe and comment down below. Let me know what you guys thought of my video or about, you know, this volume of is it wrong to pick up girls in a dungeon. And thank you guys very much for watching, and I'll see you guys later.